This is the Dr. Don Show. It's your health, it's your life on the Astral Radio Network. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. I bet you thought I was talking before I shouldn't have, didn't you? You heard something. Yeah, I know you did. Anyway, Dr. Jerome Fryer obtained his Bachelor of Science degree in biopsychology from the University of British Columbia and graduated with honors from University of Western States, formerly known as Western States Chiropractic College. He has a successful practice in Nanaimo, BC, though still makes time for conducting research. Yeah, we got so many of our chiropractic doctors increasingly interested in contributing in meaningful ways on research. Dr. Fryer has been creating what we call dynamic disc models, and he's going to explain to you what that specifically means. He is lecturing widely on the topics of osteoarthritis and related spinal, we're going to call it hydraulics, motion, liquids, fluids, and nutrition. Nanaimo is lucky to have Dr. Fryer in their community. Dr. Fryer, welcome.
Hello, Don.
Yeah, you got to speak up a little bit. Crank up that cell phone or whatever you got going there.
Can you hear me now?
That's nice. Dr. Fryer.
Yes.
How long have you been in practice in Nanaimo?
It's been, in Nanaimo, 7 years. I started out on the West Coast in Ucluelet and Tofino in a small population.
Until you busted your surfboard and had to leave.
No, I actually haven't done that, but got close a couple times.
You know, it's ironic. You're one of the few people I know that left there. Everybody's trying to go there.
Yeah, no, I know. It was some of the... Well, for children, I had to move for that particular reason, but the other thing that happened was when I moved, I realized that I had a bunch of things I needed to do in a central hub, having more resources. So I'm really glad that I made the move.
Now, you've been doing a fair bit of research. What got you motivated to including research actively in your practice?
Well, I think... research is the fundamentals of any medical profession, and in particular chiropractic. So it's always been an interest of mine, even from the years in UBC. I was instructed to perform proper research, and then when I became a chiropractor, I wanted to start to measure the stuff that we're doing so we can prove to the world that it's for real, and we have some really good things to offer the healthcare system.
Well, the back is certainly for real, as people will experience. They just don't understand what they're experiencing and what is the appropriate thing to do about it. Now, your work, I've seen your decompression models and your spine models, and tell me a little bit about what prompted you to spend the time to engineer this design, and describe for our listeners kind of briefly, because they're listening, so it's the theater of the mind.
Yeah, no, it all began, with wanting to communicate effectively to my patients. And it was very difficult for me to relay what was going on with them with these models that are plastic and don't move. And I knew we could do better, so I just basically designed a prototype of the disc in particular. So in between the two vertebrae are the discs, and the discs actually dynamically move, and the models out there don't have that that feature. So I built a prototype, and I could see the lights go on in my patients, and then I also saw the lights go on in other chiropractors, and I realized, wow, maybe there's something marketable here. So I continued to engineer and test it in clinical settings, and now it's pretty exciting. I have surgical teams using my models to teach surgeons just because of the realistic anatomy, and so it's been an exciting adventure.
Now that was the thing I was going to point out to listeners, and I'm glad you jumped in there, because this is an important little tool you've developed. And what is the website that people can go to?
Well, it's Dynamic Disc Designs.
Okay, and that's going to be on our podcast information later. Dynamic Disc Designs,
yep.
And you've been lecturing to orthopedic surgeons on this device. Is that correct?
Well, indirectly. I did actually. Yes, correct. I did do a lecture in front of neurosurgeons.
Okay, neurosurgeons are good.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. But yeah, no, I attend quite a few conferences, and often I'll find these orthopedic surgeons and spine surgeons kind of hovering around my booth and listening to me talk and describe my models. And they really like my models because it shows where all the little nerves are and where the pain is actually coming from.
Now, that on the heels of our previous guest, Dr. Budgell, your device, people going to see it, and certainly our colleagues, they should familiarize themselves. I know, I've seen your device and looked at it there, and I think it's a great demonstration both for the clinician and the patient to understand and see what's going on under the skin. Nobody wants to have a scalpel go down and take a photograph and sew themselves up again. Your model has realistically portrayed what's going on with the so-called disc degeneration as well as that mechanical joint.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another reason why I built these models, is so we can move forward as a profession too. We can gather around and say, hey, when we push here, that causes pain there. Well, let's do this, or let's do this. So it's I'm hoping that it'll grow into into a company where a bunch of top-notch chiropractors and surgeons can gather around and say, hey, this is what we need to do because this is how the joint moves or how it's supposed to move.
Now, related to this, you published a couple of papers. You're also a published author in research journals, and one of them talks about the effects of sitting. And this is really important because everybody sits, and computers nowadays, there's no such thing as being on the computer for 10 minutes. It's an hour, it's 2 hours, or whatever. You're sitting in the car, you're sitting at the computer, you're sitting at home. And chiropractic doctors are constantly trying to explain to their patients the importance of getting up periodically. One of your research papers was directly on the issue of sitting and the compression that occurs with that.
Yeah, exactly. When you get up, there's still compression. So there's no real unloading of structures. But it's good to move the tissues and vary the load on the spine. But what I developed, it was actually in chiropractic college as a student listening to my instructors after a lecture, and it's a very simple procedure where you can just unload the spine by the use of your own arms. And
have you got a diagram or a drawing on that we can use later?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's on my other website, drfryer.ca.
drfryer.ca, and you've got a drawing of how people would sort of do this exercise as a physical unloading.
Exactly. Yep.
All right. Well,
even if you just go into Google and go, unloading exercise by Dr. Fryer, you'll find that other people have been writing about it as well.
Well, Dr. Fryer, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to join us tonight. We're going to cover your issue again when we have a little bit more time because it's absolutely critical to convey to people the fact that they have a back. I know that sounds silly when you say it as simple as that, but it's something you cannot see. You really don't feel it. And if you touch it, there's just this sort of tip of something hard that's underneath your skin. So your model, we're going to picture that up on the web later on, and we're going to talk to you again about this and how this can help people understand their spine problems, prevent their spine problems, and be sure to get the right treatment for their spine problems. Dr. Fryer, you there?
I'm here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, and have a good evening. Look forward to talking with you again.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, Michelle, we've covered off Hike for Hank, so I hope our listeners take advantage of the Parkinson's website to go for Hike for Hank.
Yep, parkinsonsuperwalk.ca, and make sure you check that out if you're interested in volunteering, taking part, or making a donation, or just want to learn more about Parkinson's.
And with Dr. Budgell, that was rather interesting because it's really a thing that I like to get into a little bit more. The public needs to absolutely understand not just their back, but understand that it's more about what I sort of not too unkindly refer to as numb bums and painful legs. But, there's a lot more to the human spine than that. But unfortunately, that's all we tend to focus on. Yeah.
And I think with Dr. Fryer's models, he's helping to communicate that with patients. And if anyone is interested in looking and seeing those models in actions, if you go to his website, dynamicdiscdesigns.com, you'll see lots of great videos about the different models. It's unbelievable, the different range of movement and how that spine actually works. You can learn so much from those videos. So check those out.
Range of movement is the key. And speaking of movement, there's a long weekend coming up. So we will be here live on Monday night. So put that on your calendars. We'll see who else is here Monday night, being a long weekend. Maybe we'll have to break in to do the radio show. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, we will be here. Anyway, let's see now. As always, we want you to contact us for that exercise sheet that is so critical to the function and prevention of your spine and spine-related problems. Takes only about 2 minutes a day, 2 minutes at each session to do, but it actually effectively causes movement of the spine, and that's what's critical. As always, healthcare is in the news. Doesn't matter which day you pick it up. We want listeners to have a copy of the book, Squandering Billions, Healthcare in Canada. It's your Bible to understanding what healthcare reform can and should look like. Just send us the email to the radio show, radio@bcchiro.com, and tell us the name of our guest tonight. It was Dr. Jerome. No, let's make it Hike for Hank. Tell us our Parkinson's guest, Hike for Hank, to radio@bcchiro.com, and we'll send you a complimentary copy of Squandering Billions, Healthcare in Canada, co-authored by the late Gary Bannerman. So I'm Dr. Don, joined by Michelle in studio. Thanks for listening. Thanks to our production team, including our producer, Dr. Mirth, Art Factora, of course, you. We hope you join us again next Monday at 6 here on AM 650. On next week's program, we'll be speaking with the Massage Therapy Association of British Columbia and how to understand better care for your health. In the meantime, I'm Dr. Don on behalf of the BC Chiropractic Association, encouraging you to make informed health choices. After all, it's your health, it's your life. Good night, Gary.
There's lots more.
All-time favorites. AM 650 is CISL Vancouver, a member of the Astral family.